If you're not winning at betting, there is something wrong. You need to treat it as a business. We've done a load of videos on this channel to help you understand, and today's is about networking. Let's crack on. You understand, we've done this in a slide presentation format, so we'll talk it through. First of all, the importance of networking. You might have heard that saying, you can go fast alone or go far with others. Now the reason is pretty obvious, isn't it? You know, there's only so many hours in a working day. If you go into a reciprocal relationship and start skill sharing, you imagine, you know, with a partner, you're already doubling your sort of brain power. If you've got 5 or 6 people in your network that are all adding to this, then you imagine the brain power that's coming out and the options and the possibilities that you're going to be getting. Also, you're going to be increasing your reach with networking. You know, the world becomes your oyster, right? Nowadays, with the internet like it is and with the connections, it's possible to be with somebody in Australia if you're from the other hemisphere. And at the end of the day, right, you should find it pretty easy to connect. And the great thing also about networking is, and you shouldn't underestimate this, is that you can actually learn from others. You know, people have a special skill sets and you will be developing yourself as a person. So in end effect, you know, all in all, you're going to be creating a lot more opportunities. However, I just wanted to really touch on this because it is important. It's your duty to understand that you've got to be realistic and enter at the right level. You're not going to just walk in as a 4th division player and start playing in the Premier League straight away. You know, it depends on your level. I mean, obviously, if you've got some experience, then you can look for better partners, but you've got to develop this together. You see it as a bit of a challenge, but, be realistic at the same time. Also, expect to give before receiving. I see this quite often. I get mails every day. I never see anybody write to me and say, what can we give to you? What can we return? Please tell us this. They ask me 50 questions and they expect me to answer. You've got to be realistic. When you come to asking people, you've got to really give them something back, because otherwise it's not really a fair exchange, is it? And with this in mind, make clear the ground rules. So imagine that you've got partners there and, you're all going for it, right? Before you do start, you should really sort of put it all on paper. Who's responsible for what? I'm not saying you should necessarily draw out a contract, but I'm saying, that you can bounce back to something in the future and say, listen, you said you're going to do this, you said you're going to do that. And on that note, always deliver on promises. And the final thing, as far as the duty goes, it's the duty towards yourself. You've got to actually progress yourself as a person, right? So let me just put this to you, like, in terms of if you're the cleverest person in the room, then you should be looking to move rooms to the next room, because you're always looking for that sort of, a brain power that you haven't got yourself, and you're trying to develop yourself. So while I mentioned at first that you've got to be realistic to enter at the right level, you still have got to keep progressing. So let's get on to the nitty gritty, and these are the stuff that you can be bringing to the party. A lot of you don't think about this. You just think automatically, well, I can't do this, it's impossible for me, but it's not. Listen, if you're the instigator, if you're the person that's going to start something, right, you can do the management, you can put this thing together. So, that's one possibility. What about if you was a technologist, for example? People who are good in technology, you can keep data, you can do tracking, you can put it all together, you can make it simplified, the systems, so everybody can benefit. Also, you might bring the betting knowledge to the table. Even if, it's not a deal breaker, but if you've got a vast amount of betting knowledge and you're already proven yourself as a top gambler, then this is something that you can bring to the table and look at, to fill in the gaps with what else is mentioned in this section, right? So it could also be sourcing bets. You might not yourself be capable of finding the bets yourself, but you might have the right sources. You might know the right tipsters, you might know the right pages, you might know the right data to collect. You just might know how to find the bets that are profitable. If you can source bets, it doesn't matter whether you'll be paying for them or whatever way you're getting them, as long as you can take advantage, that is the key. And here's the thing, right? A lot of you, and I think literally anyone that lives in a country where gambling is legal and where it should be possible to sort of open more accounts, right? You can do the logistics. You can open the betting accounts for your group, for your network. You imagine that you're in a situation where, you've got somebody with a big brain in terms of betting in another country, then you can probably offer them the accounts. You can probably arrange all of that. You've got to look obviously at the legalities, and that's why I mentioned just structuring as the next one. Some people are just really in the zone as far as themselves, as they go in terms of doing the legal issues and making sure that they're covered, making sure that they've got contracts in place and so on, right? So, the structuring, putting it all together and just making sure that you're legally covered is also a strong thing. You might be the finance person, and in terms of finance, by that I mean you might be holding the money that counts. You might be able to fund these accounts, load accounts, and so on. So if you're the person that's probably got nothing else, but you've got the financial clout, you could be looking to build a team to actually bring you the ammunition to profit from. So that's also an advantage with the networking. You might even imagine that you're in the UK, for example. Even Tom, Dick, and Harry can all get a 2% Betfair account, right? In other countries they can't. In Australia, they're paying 5%. In some other countries they're paying 8%, right? It's almost impossible for them to use it. Even the betting agencies, they're charging like 3% on accounts, and that's not even such a good account like an Orbix account, which is the same as Betfair. So if you're in the UK and you can get access to these 2% accounts, right, you could just line people up with them in terms of you could be the bet placer on the exchanges. And if you do get massive volumes, you can go knocking on the door of Betfair and actually ask them, even for a low rate, contact their VIP manager, and you'll be paying probably 1.5 to 1.7% if you are just purely betting and not trading. Also, you could be looking at the Pinnacle accounts. If you're in a country where it's legal to bet with the Pinnacle Direct, that would be an option to offer these, not just the accounts, but the possibilities to bet. You could be placing the bet, you could be placing it with your own money, you could be doing splits, you could be doing anything. As long as you've got the right network in place to take advantage, it really doesn't matter. And on that note, you could even go a step further and look at the old Asian accounts, which includes sort of Pinnacle. But you've got your SBOs, your ISNs, your IBCs, and so on, right? There's loads of different accounts out there. They do amalgamated platforms where you can bet them all in one go. If it's legal where you're from, then that's also a possibility. You could be placing the bets from there, and you could be just sharing it out with your comrades or your network or whoever was bringing something to the party, basically. So they're the things that you could bring to the party. And if you go through them carefully, I think there's literally something that all of you can offer to another person. So now you're going to need to think about how you're going to build a network. And most importantly, you're going to have to put yourself out there, sort of sitting behind your desk or behind your computer every day and hoping that you get an email, somebody saying to you, I want to be part of your network, or you want to be part of my network, then, it's unrealistic. So you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to become the connector. If you do become the connector, then of course, you can even put other people together. You can build favors, get them in your sort of debt, so to say, in that respect. And, this is, I do it a little bit with, I must admit, with my platform. But, if you become the connector and putting people together and they're profiting from it, then I think you've got, fair expectation that you too can profit from it, right? But to get started, look around you, look at your proximity first of all, write all the names of people that you know on a piece of paper, and just think who could be useful, who could fit into this scenario, who wants it, who's going to be available, and, the possibilities involved. You might even want to go and throw up a LinkedIn profile. I do warn you. I mean, I've literally backed away from LinkedIn over the years, but that's because most people are just asking me all the time and not really giving, it's just like takers. But if you put up a LinkedIn profile and you make comments in a group, I'm sure you can do something about it. You can look at forums, but again, it comes back to the case you've got to put yourself out there. Just by being a member of a forum and just writing well done or good job, it's not going to be enough. You're going to have to put in your own sort of thought process, sort of say what you can do. And, obviously in forums, they're going to try to probably sort of block this direct contact. You might be able to have a messaging system. You can probably look at things like Reddit. There's a few things on there. I don't know all the forums because I don't visit them myself, but this is a possibility for you to actually find people on the same level, which brings you back to that first stage, what we mentioned before. And then, me myself, I use social media a lot. Obviously, I've got a YouTube channel here, X, that's Twitter as it's called nowadays. We've got on there, which you can subscribe to us. We throw up a few betting tips on there now and then, but that's just a quick plug. Instagram, a lot of people doing it over there. And, there's all different methods for actually finding a network, right? So, but you've got to put yourself out there. You're not going to just go and plug yourself on somebody else's blog or on somebody else's post, because they're going to just press the delete button and get rid of you. So you've got to make an effort. You could do some YouTube shorts. You could do anything that sort of benefits another party if you've got a skill set that's to offer. And if you really want to think big, you could look at an online presence. It doesn't cost nothing nowadays to make a small blog. The great thing about a blog is that you own it, so even if you get cut off of social media, people have still got your blog to go to. It just tells them what you do, and it's a way that people can contact you directly. And of course, if you want the headache of a website, which I wouldn't necessarily encourage, being the owner of one myself, it is a possibility, to sort of grow pretty quickly. I must admit, it does work for me in terms that we're probably getting like 100, 150 emails every day, but they do take a lot of work and you do need help. So think about it maybe later as you sort of gather your network and sort of are already profiting. So the only thing I just really want to pick up on is that most people fail because they don't execute and follow through with the plan, right? You don't want to be really one of these people, And also think about it like this, right? At the end of the day, you get paid in a proportion to the problem that you solve. So think big, right? If you're just sort of copy and pasting what everybody else is doing, you're thinking that there's like a blueprint out there where you can just jump on it and you follow what's been done before, or just going around picking up cheap tips. I'm afraid, you're sort of deluding yourself, yeah? So think a little bit bigger, think out of the zone, and that should help you along. So the last thing I really want to mention is if you do want to fast track your learning, we do offer coaching. It is fee based, unfortunately, because time is money and so on. Yes, we also do consulting. Most of that actually is for bookmakers and acquisitions and stuff like that, but that's a different story. And we do have a mentorship program if you really want to get yourself, going through the gears pretty fast. Yeah. So that's about it for now. You're through to boot camp again. Thanks. Like and subscribe to this channel if you want more of this type of video, and we'll see you in the next one shortly. Take care for now. Bye bye.